Hi, my name is Mike and welcome to my love affair with showbiz. Today we're going to talk about something that's contemporary because this person who I'm a big fan of passed away just a few days ago, less than a week ago. Her name is Doris Day, and through this episode I have collected all my albums, the DVDs that will be filmed. I'm a major fan of her, and there's reasons to be a major fan of Doris Day. People who have been reading the obituaries know more of her history, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Okay, she was born in 1924 in Cincinnati, and Doris showed a penchant. Doris, mind you, we're best friends, so I call her Doris. And in this episode, I will call her Doris, because it seems weird to say Ms. Day, or Doris Day, or Miss Day. Okay, she showed a penchant for dancing at a young age, and she had the dream of being a professional dancer in her adulthood. Everything was going along fine. At 12 years old, she was involved in a major car accident where she totally destroyed one of her legs. She was in the hospital for many months. She had to relearn to walk. But as she was recuperating from this accident, she started listening to the radio. And she started loving singers, like really listening to them and kind of understanding and being very curious about what does it take for a singer, a professional singer, to sing a song. It's not just having a good voice, it's also understanding lyrics and the music and being able to relate to what you're singing. So, one of her biggest influences was Ella Fitzgerald, who pretty much out of the park became popular. Ella Fitzgerald. I could take a whole episode talking about her, but I won't. But Doris started imitating her. So she's singing, she thought she'll never dance again. Okay, so she gets to be in her late teens, and she's singing, and she is hired by Les Brown and his orchestra. Les Brown had a big band. This is during the big band era in the 40s. And she became his female vocalist. And she became quite famous as his vocalist from one song, which was Sentimental Journey. Now, I don't believe I can play music on this because of copyright laws. I wish I could, because she's very young. You kind of understand what Doris Day was going to become from that song. She sings it perfectly. It's a great arrangement for her. So, she's singing, and then Hollywood beckons. They want to sign her. Okay, and again, she's in her early 20s by this time. She said, her whole life, she's talked about only wanting to be a mother, and a wife. A happy mother and a wife that, she can just support. But her life didn't go that way at all. She just kept getting more famous. Okay, so first movie was Romance on the High Seas. She's gum chewing. She is not playing the Doris Day persona that we know. But there was enough of her natural ability as an actor, and she was also very attractive, which never hurts in the visual arts, that the movie was very successful. Ironically, before she was hired, Warner Brothers wanted Judy Garland, but of course MGM would never have given her Judy Garland. And it's odd to think that they wanted Judy Garland because it's not really something that you would think Judy Garland would film at that time. Okay, but I have to get that Judy stuff in. So she does Romance of the High Seas, and she has one very popular song, and wouldn't that be nice if I could remember it? It's Magic. Major, major hit. Okay, so she's signed by Warner Brothers, and she starts doing films. The films are good. They're not great. They're very enjoyable. If you watch Turner Classic Movies, you've seen many of them. But she was improving, and she was improving. So lo and behold, after she does a few movies, she starts dancing a little bit. And she really reconnected with her dance, and of course the choreographers were amazed because she could dance quite well. I tell you, this lady was so talented, singing and dancing. And of course she's really best known as an actress that we're going to get into a little later because we haven't gotten to the late 50s yet. So she started dancing again, and the directors and the choreographers were very surprised that she picked up on the choreography so well. But they didn't know that she had this dance background as a child. Okay, my favorite dance numbers are from a musical called Tea for Two with Gordon McRae and Gene Nelson. Gene Nelson was a fantastic dancer. Had he been born only 10 years before, he would have been a major dancer. What I'm thinking, major like Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly. But the 50s musicals were kind of coming out of style. So you may not think you know Gene Nelson, but if you saw the movie Oklahoma, which is still a major musical, really wonderful considering how successful it was as a Broadway show. Most very successful Broadway shows don't do so well in movies. It's the exception to the rule that a great Broadway show will be transferred to the screen and be equally as great. And I'm thinking My Fair Lady is one of those films. It was the most successful show on Broadway in the 50s, and the movie with Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison was, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to see that movie. It is so enjoyable, and the music is so great by Lerner and Loewe. Okay, but we're going back to Doris now. So she's doing these light musicals. She's starting to dance again. She's becoming very successful. Now, unfortunately, which is the interesting thing about Doris Day, she had this girl next door, apple pie look about her, and she was always so sunny. But her first two marriages were awful. Her first husband tried to kill her child by beating her, but he was born. His name was Terry, who became, later on, Doris Day's agent, manager, confidant. They had a wonderful relationship. And remember, Doris Day, when she does interviews, she talks about she only wanted to be a wife and mother. So, with Terry, it was her whole world. Now, something that is interesting that a lot of people don't know is Terry Melcher's connection with Charles Manson. You know, the Manson murders were those three, women just bludgeoned this house. They thought, Charles Manson thought, and Terry Melcher was renting it at the time, but he was away, and he wasn't there. Actually, these people came to murder him. That they weren't in the house is very odd because, they killed the people that were. Sharon Tate, of course, is the famous one who was pregnant, just stabbed. People were very sick. I don't have to get into that. It's just an awful time in American history and certainly in the entertainment world, which changed the way celebrities felt about security, that they no longer felt that they'd be secure. And a lot of people, of course, today have to have bodyguards 24/7. It's a sad situation. Anyway, Terry wasn't there. The Manson murders went on, and it was very bad. But let's go back to he was born. Okay, she divorced him pretty much after that beating. After Terry was born, she divorced him. She married a second band singer who also was abusive to her. Now, again, you think of Doris Day, who's just so perky, and here she's being abused by her first two husbands. Okay, the third husband is Marty Melcher. Now, he is, we're talking about the first two husbands who were so controversial, but Marty was really the controversial husband. He became her manager. He did very well by her. If it wasn't for Marty Melcher, she would have never segued into those amazing comedies of the late 50s and early 60s. The three with Rock Hudson are all fantastic. And this is all Marty Melcher. Okay, now, it's wonderful being married to your manager, to your agent, but it is not good for your marriage because they become your boss and they're basically making money on you. Off of you. So it wasn't necessarily a happy marriage, but he was very successful. Okay, she is doing her movies. By the late 50s, Ross Hunter wanted her for a comedy. I think she sang one song in it, but it was not a musical, called Pillow Talk with Rock Hudson. Now, if you guys have not seen Pillow Talk, you got to. It's always on Turner Classic Movies. You can, I'm sure it's on Netflix. You can certainly buy the video. It is hilarious. It is so funny. Doris Day is hilarious. And this is the first movie where she played the virgin. That all the jokes went, where she became virginal. Oscar Levant's famous line about her is, he knew Doris Day before she was a virgin. Okay, it was very successful. And she started, now there were musicals after Pillow Talk. Jumbo was a major one. So there were other movies with Rod Taylor, Cary Grant. Some of them were great, some of them were not so great, but there was something about Rock Hudson and Doris Day that was really hilarious. The last movie she did with Rock Hudson was a movie called Send Me No Flowers. It is so funny. And they were actually playing a married couple, and Rock Hudson thinks he's dying. But it's a comedy. It's a little macabre, but, you know, we're talking early 60s, so it's not very macabre. But it's hilarious that they could segue into playing husband and wife as opposed to romantic, sexy, beautiful people. Very, very funny, all the movies. Another one of her movies without Rock Hudson, which is very enjoyable, is The Thrill of It All with James Garner. James Garner, who had a very successful career. You know him as the Rockford Files, but he had 20 years of doing quite successful movies. And I remember he was interviewed once, and he said he had the Triple Crown when he was acting. And he mentioned Julie Andrews, Audrey Hepburn, and Doris Day. That he was in films with all three of them, and he loved them, and they were wonderful to work with. Okay, so Doris is doing these movies, and she really was getting tired of being in front of the camera. She did it very well. She was extremely attractive. She had a real flair for clothes. Very sophisticated in her style, like Audrey Hepburn and Grace Kelly. Okay. Marty Melcher got sick. He dies. At that point, Doris thought she was very wealthy. She'd been doing movies for like 20 years. She probably had a good 30 movies behind her, most of them being very successful. Her recording career was also thriving in the 50s. Thriving. And I'm going to talk about that right after we finish her career, because that's a whole other story. Now we're talking about her movie career. Okay, so he passed away. What Doris Day found out, which was absolutely devastating to her, was she was basically bankrupt. What she didn't know, that Marty had made very, very bad investments. And most of the multiple millions. Now, in the 60s, multiple $1 million meant a whole lot. Now, you talk about $1 million, it's something, it's okay to have, but it doesn't mean what it meant. You know, being a millionaire in the mid-60s, you were very wealthy. And she thought she was very wealthy and there'd be no problems. But she found out she was basically broke, and he had signed her for a TV show that he never told her. The Doris Day Show. Okay, she did not want to do the show. She wanted to retire at this time. She was in her early 40s. But because of the financial situation, she did the show. Now, for you baby boomers out there, it's kind of funny, the show. It lasted for 5 years. It was moderately successful because of Doris Day. Because every year, the plots changed. I think the first year she's on a farm, the second year she's in the San Francisco city, the third year. It kept changing. The one commonality of all the years was Doris Day. Unfortunately, she never sang on them. Now, I remember watching them as a kid. I've been a Doris Day fan for a long time, and I found the show bad, for lack of a better word. It wasn't good, but there's just something about Doris Day you like watching. It's hard to explain her aura, and she has commented on that also, that she didn't understand her popularity. I mean, she really, I think 1968 was her last TV special, and she never did anything professionally since then. And yet, her reputation, her movies on DVD have sold very well. Her recordings, they're all on CDs. Okay, so she does the show. She also sued her lawyer, or Marty Melcher's lawyer, for mismanagement of her money. And she won multiple $1,000,000, but it took the life out of her. Now, and then she retired after she got that money. And then she went to Carmel and devoted her life to the dogs. I don't know if there were other animals, because she was a real animal lover. And she talked about loving animals long before it became popular. Now, you know, we have the service pets, and everybody's walking around with an animal because they're too insecure to walk on their own or something. But she wanted to rescue animals. The Doris Day Pet Foundation is major, and I hope the people who have taken over it now continue that, because it's really it's what Doris Day would want her legacy to be. Basically, her legacy with us is the movies and the recordings. But if you asked her, she would say, what I have done for the dogs, for the animals. And her inn in Carmel, not only can you bring your pets there, you can bring them to dinner. You can go to the dining room and bring them. They have chairs for the animals. Very cute. Okay, so lo and behold, she stops the career. She writes her autobiography. Now, the autobiography was co-written by a very famous author, A.E. Hotchner. It was a revelation to anybody who had any interest in Doris Day. The book was very successful, not only because it was Doris Day, and Doris Day was a very popular actress for many years. In fact, I think the first 4 years of the 60s, she was a #1 box office draw 3 out of the 4 years. And this is major. Okay, she writes the book, and lo and behold, we find out, oh my God, what a wretched life she lived. Her first 2 husbands who beat her up, her third husband, she actually married a 4th time, which didn't last very long, and then she gave up marriage, even though that's really what she always wanted, a very happy marriage. She does retire. She is probably maybe the only one who said she is retiring from showbiz and actually did. She did accept a Golden Globe Award a few years after that, and I have a feeling she only accepted it because Clint Eastwood presented it to her. And they were next door neighbors, and they became very close. He also lived in Carmel. And that was it. But how many times do we read about people who are saying they're retiring? How many times has Cher retired, right? Every concert is her final concert. But there's so many more. I don't know why I thought of Cher, but she's one of them. Tina Turner, who did basically retire, has done a few concerts, but she kind of retired. Of course, she's now in her 80s and still gorgeous. Okay, so she retired. But the Doris Day Pet Foundation thrived. I am somebody who gives money every single year, not only because I'm an animal lover. I believe in protecting the animals. If we don't protect the animals, who does? But not only that, but it's also Doris Day. I admit it. I'm giving, I also give money to PETA, but not as much to the Doris Day, because I just like the idea that I'm giving money to Doris Day and what she's doing. Okay, so she's getting older and older, and she is finally mellow in her life. There's no men, but she has, a great support system. She has very good friends. They all knew that they were not to discuss her in the news, that part she was not okay with. The last year she contracted pneumonia, and she never really got over it. And basically that's what she died of a few days ago. But she was 97 years old. 97 years old. Amazing. There was a birthday celebration in Carmel every year, and that's all on YouTube. But about 3 years ago, she made a little appearance, which was amazing because there were no photographs. I mean, there were photographs from the National Enquirer that made her look like a bag lady. She's just walking to the store. She wasn't a star anymore. She didn't need to look like a star. And, of course, the pictures are not the most flattering. I mean, they're taken from a lens, far away. But she was at this birthday, and she looked, leave it to Doris, she looked like what you should look like in your 90s. She still looked like Doris. There was a little makeup. There was no major eyelashes or a wig. It was her own hair. It was really something to see. Okay, so then she passed away, and all of these articles. I'm thinking, people who are under 30 years old are probably wondering, who is this person all these newspapers and television shows are talking about? But it's Doris Day. But Doris Day leaves a great legacy. Wonderful movies and her recording career. Now, before I leave, I'm going to talk a little about the recording career. Because I, being the obsessive person I am, own every single recording that Doris Day did. All right, I think I take that back. She signed with Columbia, and you music nuts who are familiar with the Bear Family series, they're very interesting. They have box sets that contain every single song that a performer did, and most of them are multiple. Like Johnny Cash, you can buy like 5, but every single song he ever recorded. Well, I happen to have 4 of Doris Day's that go from 1947 to 1967. And you're going to see the covers, at least. Hundreds and hundreds. She did maybe 30 albums. She was very successful as a recording artist also. Okay, but this is the one interesting thing about her recording career, about her singing career. She never, after the big band with Les Brown, she never did a concert. Never. Not even one. This is one of the most successful and popular recording artists of the 50s. And she never did a concert. Interesting. So we don't have any concert recordings of her, which, that's too bad, right? But thank God we have all the recordings. Yes, we have all the movies. And Doris Day was somebody we should give credit to. We mourn her. We appreciated her. She was a light in our lives. So thanks for watching. Take care, folks.